All right, hello. I'm Linda Farrell and I'm interviewing Liz Aldous on the 21st of February 2024 for the Accidental Archivist, which is a project funded by the National Heritage Lottery Fund.
Mm-hmm.
So, hello Liz.
Hello.
Are you a Luton girl? What's your background?
I am a Luton girl indeed. I was born in Limbury, Luton, and I've lived in Luton pretty much most of my life since then, and I'm now 59 nearly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to know. I was going to ask you, but now I don't have to. So, okay. So, when did you first come into 33?
Do you know what? I can remember it so clearly because I hadn't really intended to come back to Luton. And
so what were you doing when you say you didn't intend to come back to Luton? What were you doing in that time? What did you do before you went to 33?
Before I went to 33, I was working in London in a mental health hospital, doing a job as an occupational therapist, which I really loved and I really enjoyed. And then I had glandular fever and it developed into ME,
okay,
which is now very similar to long COVID actually. So I then had to move back to Luton to live with my parents, which was a really big change and not one I ever thought would happen. So in answer to your question, I think that I was out in desperation trying to find something that I could do and get involved with.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I have my school friends that have stuck by me and people that I knew in Luton that I kept in touch with, but they weren't really on the same kind of arts page as me.
Okay.
So that's how I came across 33.
So can you remember when that was, what year it was you came in, or how old you were?
Well, I first got ill when I was 24, so it must have been the following year, because I didn't leave the house. I was about 25 when I came past, and I think actually thinking back I was with a friend, but I can't remember who it was.
Okay.
Yeah, but I can even picture it was during the kind of tea time, as we'd say,
okay.
And it was sunny.
Right.
And I remember walking through the door and just thinking, oh, what a sigh of relief. I found my tribe. I have found something that maybe is going to help me. And it was you, Muddy, that I first spoke to at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. And I remember the conversation. It was a long conversation, but it was you were the first person I had that kind of length of conversation with. Someone, I think it might have been young Mark, served me a coffee, or Charlie, somebody, but it was you I spoke to, and I can remember that really, really clearly.
Great.
And yeah, I was just keen to find out what went on, and the variety of different things, like the jazz nights and the folk club, and the I remember the really amazing calendar project that was taking place, and you showed me round the bottom bit. I can still picture that now, and I thought, oh, this is just amazing. And then from there you offered me some small amount of hours, which was about 3 hours, which is as much as I could do in a week, but it was my return to doing some kind of work, some kind of involvement. It was huge. Doesn't sound a lot to most people, but it was huge in my life. Yeah.
And so at that time you were still quite ill, weren't
Mm-hmm.
you? From what I remember, I think at one point you were actually in a wheelchair.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you did manage to get around that building.
Yes.
In a chair.
Yes, I did manage to get around the building. Certain ways through the back. When I first came in, there was the access to come in and help. So yes, and then other things that I needed to do as I became stronger. There wasn't any barrier to me being able to get involved in terms of any access or help from people. It was made really accessible, which was, you know, brilliant, especially given the time and how hot people are on access now. At that point the access was there.
Yeah, so the work that you did was in the sort of cafe area, serving and things like that, which gave you, I imagine that gave you the opportunity to meet so many different people, didn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, quite a lot of the people that I met are still close friends now, after all these years, like-minded people, 3 sitting here. Still friends now through these decades. And yes, to meet other musicians, because I did used to sing in choirs, and I had been in a little band, and I did like singing and enjoyed singing, like music. So to talk to other musicians and to be there to listen to the jazz, because it came through into the cafe and there was different types of things I wasn't so familiar with. But yeah, friendships, and even some of the quirky nicknames we had for people that used to come in, endearing kind of. I can still picture them now, and the food that was in the drinks cabinet, and all the delicious food that was served there, that was vegetarian, and that was groundbreaking. Yes, it was absolutely groundbreaking for that time. Yeah, so yeah, I made loads of friends. Really, really looked forward to it. Went in there not just when I worked. As I got a bit better, I'd just go in there and meet up with people, and always knew there'd be someone in there that I could talk to, because I think it's fairly kind of mumbling now, because when you are so unwell, it can be quite lonely, because you can't get out and do things with your friends, and you can't travel, and you can't do a lot, so it can feel quite a lonely place, really. So to have somewhere to go, especially during the day, was, you know, really helped my mental health as well.
And you got involved in other projects, although you like the singing and that. As you mentioned, you worked with the Calendar Project, which is something that Huey was running. But I think you did get involved in helping with that quite a bit, didn't you? Because you had some of those skills. That was a bit later on. That was a bit later on. I do remember you working on that with him.
It was a bit later on, and I was just like so super impressed with these amazing images in this calendar, and I can still actually visualise them, and it was like way ahead of the time of what was going on. And I think I got involved in making props and setting up backdrops and things like that from what I can remember. I was just like inspired to think, well, this is going on in this place as well. What else is going on in this place? Folk. I mean, I like folk music. I'm folky as well, amongst other things. And once a month, I remember when my hours increased, being there and hearing folk singers, and not all just the finger in your ear folk singers, but you know, and poems and things people had written, and serving the regulars. And I actually still know one of the guys who worked on Wild Ogre. Now still, I don't see much of him, but just to have that opportunity and to be there and feel part of something. And I did sing, I did sing as well.
Because of course Wild Ogre was the name of the folk club.
That was the name, yes. It sounds like clear. A person, doesn't it? It's like Big Wild Ogre, but no. Wild Ogre was the name of the folk club, and then kind of eventually kind of for various reasons, I don't know, it grew, and then other branches came off and people would meet in pubs and whatever. So it was like a kind of, the whole thing was a bit like it's in the middle, and then this branch would come off, and this branch, and this friendship. But it was kind of organic in the way things happened. It wasn't all like dictated, it's this time, it's that time, whatever. I do remember doing it was just kind of off the cuff, few activities in the school holidays with children. I think we did glass painting or something like that, or painting images, but that was just something we came up with because people were saying, oh, you know, it's just school holidays. There wasn't so many school clubs and stuff. No. So there was like, it was like no idea was really a bad idea within reason. So that kind of suits me as well, really, because I'm quite a creative person and I like to work like that.
There's obviously when we got involved in different festivals and things, you'd go along and do face painting and things like that. That was another one of those things you could, as from what I remember and know now, you could turn your hand to most things.
Yeah. I mean, it did help to build my confidence up as well, because part of the reason I wanted to be an OT was because I knew the value of the arts and being creative and working together as a team and how it could help people. So, and certainly it's been something that's helped me through my decades of illness, which have really gone up and down and up and down, to keep going really. So anything that, there were so many things that I could remember. It's like thinking of a mini festival sometimes.
Okay. I remember you mentioning once about hearing different sorts of music because it opened you to those things, and I think you've got one particular memory about a particular band.
I think it would it have been CDs or no, it wouldn't have been tapes, I don't think, but there was a band and it was spelled TUU, Two, I think.
Okay.
And I never forget it because the beautiful sound of the bells that, I can't think of the names of them, that people use in yoga and are used in Buddhism, and a singing bowl and this breathing, which obviously was like a meditation, and I'm quite responsive to things like that. And I remember sitting there and they kind of finished. It was brilliant. Not many people there, but it was brilliant. I remember thinking, I've got to move now. Everybody's moving around. I'm so relaxed. This is amazing. Please don't stop. Carry on. And that's one of the things that sticks in my mind, one of the numerous random but amazing acts, performances, local bands, local people, everything. But yeah, I can still remember that. When I go home, I'll ping the bells.
And of course, after 33, you carried on working in other things, but you came back to join the organisation by working with the young people at SNAP.
Yep.
When we'd moved on.
Yeah.
So I know that you did that and worked for a while with that and worked on running projects.
Yeah.
What have you done since, and perhaps what have you done since then, up until now? I know you've been ill, but you have, I'm sure, done things.
Yeah, I've had periods of time when I've actually never thought I had ME, stroke, now long COVID, and believed it's actually gone. But they say in the world of OT or mental health or whatever that you use your transferable skills. That's the kind of thing they call it. But basically that means that you take the skills and passions and the way you work with people with what you do. And so really most of my life has been working creatively with people in a supportive role. I've worked with older people. I had a little mini business running workshops in residential homes for the elderly. I've worked with young people. I've worked a lot in mental health. I've worked with people with head injury. In fact, I don't actually like the labels really, but I've worked from the ages of 4 up to 99. I taught at Barnfield College. I taught textiles and art and design. I've worked pretty much across the sector. Worked for Nowhere Enterprises. We did mural painting there and ran events in the church. Used a lot of old records that were no longer needed and painted them, actually, thank you, to hang up with different decoupage on. Everything was used, and CDs, come to think of it. Bird scarers, brilliant. So yeah, I've continued. I'm working for a charity now which supports people in the community who are experiencing loneliness or mental health problems or are retired and want something to do. Very similar ethos, so it's kind of gone full circle. Penrose is like 33, really.
That's really good.
Yeah, so but without that introduction and coming back and that particular time, and I've said this numerous times, I do not know what would have been ahead of me. I'm not particularly well at the minute again, but I've had many periods of time when I've done lots, and I'm working on building up my hours and just work in the moment now. I'm older and wiser, but still carrying it forward, really.
Well, that's good to hear, Liz, and it's lovely that you've come back to talk about your times at 33, and it's good to see you still doing stuff. So thanks very much for that.
No,
That's
thank
great.
you. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.